All right, let's talk about the final project. So we're a couple steps away from the final project. Let me bring up the guidelines here. Okay, so the research journal was basically an entire semester of working towards the final project. Now, what I would like to do is explain as briefly as possible the steps to get to the end goal of producing a 5 to 7 page write-up of your research this semester. So what I would like to do is lay this out step by step, kind of the way that I've conceptualized it for you, maybe one of the easier ways to think about this. But the first thing I want you to do is I want you to prioritize the research. So between when you watch this video and November 23rd, or whenever we have put an end date on the research, that is all you should be focused on, is doing that research, making sure you do it well, making sure it's effective, putting your energy into just collecting data. That's it. That's all we should be doing at this point. So whether you are in the quantitative group or in the qualitative group, your energy should be spent on producing data. And that's it. Just generating that, whether it be interviewing or whether it be making sure that those surveys get filled out. So we do have some work to do between now and then to collect this data, but it is totally possible. At the point that I'm recording this video, we have roughly 12 days. Some of those are weekend days. Of course, I'll probably be working a little bit, and those weekends hopefully will be reserved for you and to focus on your other classes. But in those days, those 12 days that we have, we're going to make the most of them, and we're going to try to pack in what we can. Now, I like to think of a week as a business week, as in 5 days. So instead of thinking of 12 days as less than 2 weeks, I like to think of it as 2 business weeks. Maybe it's a little bit of glass half full kind of thing, but there's a lot that we can do in that time. We have, as of right now, it's Thursday night. We have Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I have not scheduled anything because we don't have the room at Rollins College. But we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week. That's one full business week. And then we have another weekend, which is where we can hopefully collect and do some recruitment if possible. And then we have the first 2 days of the following week. 12 days is quite a bit of time. We can do quite a bit with that. So that's the first thing. Focus on collecting data. The more data you have, the easier it's going to be to make the argument you want to make. Second, you should conduct your analysis of the data. Realistically, we would have had more time. Unfortunately, we don't. Unfortunately, there was not much I could do being brand new to the IRB system here at UCF. This gives me some hope for, if I end up teaching this next fall, this gives me some hope that I'll be able to develop a much more maybe faster submission to the IRB, something that will be able to be, approved with much more time, so we have more time for analysis. But we're going to do what we have to do. So the reason why I stopped this before Thanksgiving is because it still gives us 2 solid weeks to do analysis. Now, this will be easier for my quantitative group to do while they're away. But there's still work that needs to be done from the qualitative group when we have a little Thanksgiving break, namely transcribing some of these audio files. That'll be work that you guys will have to do. It's going to be stuff that we're going to code, and we'll bring it together, and then we can have a coding party. We can get together, do some work on the coding, and I think we'll be good. I think we'll be able to pull some of this stuff together and draw some conclusions from that. But it's going to be a short turnaround time. I'm not going to lie. So let's focus on this analysis. but we're going to have to stop at a certain time. We're going to have to stop, you know, ideally by the 1st of December. If we stop by the 1st of December, we will have enough time to write these papers. So we're going to give it a good 2 weeks for the research, a good week for the analysis, and a good week for the paper writing, which is I think sufficient time to write a nice 5 to 7 page paper of original research. Excuse me. Now, third, once you've conducted your analysis, you can begin drawing some conclusions. So my advice to you is to make the conclusions, or to write down the conclusions in the plainest English possible. Okay, I don't want you to be very fancy like the information-seeking behaviors of Winter Park residents leads us to believe that blah, blah, blah. No, write it in plain English. So here, the example I use here is that the people you interviewed begin looking for answers to their questions and problems by Googling them. As simple as that. Use your own language. That will be the best thing that you can possibly do. And then start putting it into language that aligns with the literature review that you have done. This will help you when putting together the outline, which is the next step. Fourth, spend some time outlining your paper. Each section will become the major section, and you really don't have wiggle room on this in the quantitative side of things. In the qualitative side, you can be a little bit more creative, but still you get stuck to these kind of sections. You have the major sections, you have the introduction, the background, the literature review, which is the literature review is the background. You have the methodology, you have the analysis, you have the discussion, you have the conclusion, future research, implications, things of that nature. You will want to break this down into smaller pieces underneath each section. So in the literature review, you might have a little section on information-seeking behavior, might have a little section on civic literacy, you might have a little, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And I want you to start outlining that so it's easy. Once you go in and you do the writing, you know where to gather all of the stuff. There are a couple links that I have provided for you. For the quantitative people, there's a useful website from the University of Southern California. It is their writing center, and this will help you understand what each section deserves. For the qualitative research, because it's a little bit more tricky, there's an article I would like you to read that I found on ResearchGate that I thought was fairly informative. You don't have to, know the thing front to back. Oh, well, the name of the article is Front to Back Guide to Writing. You don't have to know the article inside and out, but I would like you to be able to read through this and understand what each section entails, because there's a little bit more latitude with each section in a qualitative study. Fifth, once you have the outline of your paper, now you can begin writing. So in the guidelines, I put like my own ceremony of writing. When I was in grad school, one of the ceremonies that I used to do was I would, before a big writing weekend, like say it was the end of the semester, and I knew I had 2 or 3 papers that I had to start working on over the course of, a week or so to get written, I would do all my cleaning. I would go to Trader Joe's was specifically the place because they had so much ready-made foods that I could just pop in the oven or throw on the stove, 1 skillet type dishes. And I would just prepare my food, get my food ready. I would get my apartment clean. I would stock up on anything I need, get a new bag of coffee if you need coffee to brew or whatever, get your half and half. My sister would have the that non-dairy creamer. What's the stuff? The Coffee Mate peppermint swirl gingerbread house stuff or whatever, and stock up, and then just sequester yourself aside from the world and write. Just write till your heart's content and be done with it. You can rock out a 5 to 7 page paper over the course of a weekend. Once you're done, set it aside, go to sleep, and then wake up the next morning. Then do your editing, do your formatting. Finalize your, I used to save that time to put my reference sheet in alphabetical order and then hit submit. Again, that was the last step. Make sure you're proofreading and correctly formatting everything. This is, I can't state this enough. This is a monumental feat for you guys. I never did anything like this in undergrad, and you guys should feel very proud once you complete this. So just take a moment to breathe and to celebrate. The requirements for the paper are fairly simple. It's a 5 to 7 page paper. You must use a writing style. APA is one of the easiest ones, but you can use MLA, you can use IEEE Chicago if you'd like. And then a thesis statement should drive the composition of the paper. So those are the major kind of meta requirements for the paper. Now I just want to briefly address the final presentation guidelines. So the final presentation, come to class on the last day of class. This is in lieu of like an exam session, basically. You'll come to class on the 7th of December, and you're just going to give an oral description of the experience that you had during the final project. You're gonna be evaluated on your ability to convey the value of your research method to your peers. Additionally, you'll want to be able to discuss the limitations of your project. So here are the requirements. It should be well rehearsed. Don't forget that I am a veteran public speaker. That's my forte. That's the thing that I've taught most in my life. It should be 2 to 3 minutes. I don't want it any longer. I don't want it any less. Well rehearsed means you should be able to get it within that stuff, but it's a presentation of your experience with the final project. I want you to reflect in that 2 to 3 minutes on the limitations of the project, and I want you to articulate the strengths of the method that you chose. And that's it. That is the final project guidelines and the final presentation guidelines. So please, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you, and good luck.